Ever feel like finding issues in Jira is harder than it should be? Well, you're not alone. Filters are supposed to make life easier if you know how to use them. I'm going to be breaking down Jira filters, how to set them up, how to save them, and how to actually make them useful. If you don't know who I am, my name is Josh, founder of Grid.io, and we help teams just like yours with Jira and Atlassian. By the way, stick around till the end. I have a couple of JQL tricks that are super powerful and will save you a ton of time. Okay, so jumping in, the first thing I want to show you is why you don't really want to use the search box up at the top right. Now, if you're trying to quickly find something based on the summary, the description, maybe a couple of other fields and using some of these filters on the right side, this is a really quick and easy option to utilize. But if you're trying to dig really deep and stack a lot of filters on top of each other and find pretty much every field within Jira to filter on, this is definitely not going to be the place to go. So for example, here I could search something like the issue key, ITS-123. That's going to pull up a random ticket here from our IT support project. And then I could also search for something like a summary and find some kind of information based on that. I can also start stacking some filters here on the right side, but this is going to be very basic and not give you a lot of flexibility when you're trying to filter down a lot of your search results and find your work items in Jira. So to start searching for issues and actually build a filter, we're going to want to go to the Filters tab at the top and hit View All Work Items. Once we're in this issue view, we have a ton more options here, and you can see that we have a lot more flexibility to actually start stacking filters and finding exactly what we need. So you'll see that the created within 30 days is set here by default pretty much anytime you open up this screen. I usually click that away because anytime I'm searching for issues across Jira, I don't want that filter to limit my results. So let's just pull up a random example and start searching. I typically start with the project because that's going to narrow things down the most. And next I'll filter down by assignee. I'll find Alana Grant here, see if we can filter down those results as well. And you can see your little counter at the bottom right. This is super handy. I use it all the time to know exactly how many issues I have in total in this list. So if you ever want to know how many are being pulled up, if you don't want to scroll through and start counting these, just look at this little ticker on the bottom. The real trick here is when you go to the More tab. So this pretty much lets you pick any field within Jira to filter on. So I could find priority in here, I could find resolution, I could find any custom field that I've ever created and pull that up. So let's see if I have anything in the high category as an example. Perfect. So now you can see that there are 2 work items here from HR that are filtered down. Let's say that these 2 results are what I am after, and maybe we'll have more results coming in as time goes on and things change within our Jira environment. So now that my basic search is ready, I'll go ahead and save this as a filter. So I'll click the Save Filter button and give this a name. Super critical to name your projects correctly for the future. Otherwise, someone who may be referencing these in the future may not know what this filter is and what it does. Also, if you're building like hundreds of filters within your Jira environment, you're going to want to give it a good naming scheme to actually understand what that filter is bringing in. So I might say something like IT and HR, high priority, closed work items. So just generally describing the filter, that way it's easy for me to reference and find. And when I look at the title, I know exactly the kind of work items that are going to show up inside of the filter. We could set the viewers here in editors. I'll leave things as private by default, but you could set this to my organization, click add. That way you could give individuals the ability to view this report, or admins or peers to actually edit it for you as well. And once we click save, this report is officially built and should show up in our filters list. So I'll go to filters again and click on view all filters this time. And if you have a long list here, you may need to filter it down. So I'll search for IT and HR, and my filter shows up right here. It is saved. If I go in this filter, I'll find those exact 2 work items that I just narrowed down. Quick side note, I am using the list view here. I believe by default, you'll have the detail view when you open your filters, and if you don't configure this, detail view is fine. I use it on occasion. I do prefer list view just because I could see more total tickets, and I also have the ability to reference the columns a little bit quicker and easier. So I'll have a list of tickets here, and I could take a look at the values of each column without needing to click on every single ticket individually like I would have to do inside of the detailed view. So let's say I want to find the priority. I have to click on this ticket. I could click on this one, priority high, versus going to the list view. I could take a look and see that both of these are high priority without even clicking on them to open them. So what do we do now that we've built our filter? So number one, you could just reference this data anytime in the future. Oftentimes, I like to just build searches when I'm looking for something very specific. This is my go-to place to actually narrow down and find very specific things that I'm looking for. But I'll also save these as filters anytime in the future when I want to reference them. So a few things we could do here directly from the filters. We could export these into a CSV or an Excel format. You could also just share these filters with them directly if they have access to to Jira, I like to send them a link. That way they have this interactive filter to look at and be able to change values, jump in, take a look, and drill into data. And the other super powerful thing we could do with these filters is to actually apply them to a dashboard report. So if we go to our dashboards, and I'm not going to dive too deep into dashboards and how to build them out, but the idea is that these dashboards are pieces of data that are represented within a certain visualization, and that data source can be a filter. So when you actually start to build out these reports within the dashboard, your data source can be something like a whole project, but often what I like to do to get more granular, so let's say that there is a customer filter and we're looking at assigned tickets inside of our environment. If I select the project as a source data, I'm going to be looking at everything from open to in progress to done, everything inside of that Jira project without filtering down any of that data. What we could do is build a filter that excludes certain data. For example, we only want open and in progress items. We're going to be excluding data that is done or completed. And this chart will show us only those open tickets and break them down by assignee. There's a lot more use cases in terms of how you could actually implement this into a dashboard, but really the core idea is that we build the filter, we build the source data, and then we add that to our reporting versus just adding all the data and then trying to funnel down and figure out what we actually want to report on. A couple more things that I like to do in filters that help me find work items faster. So one advanced tip here is this equals or does not equals option. This is relatively new and was actually only possible in JQL just a few months ago. So I highly recommend using this because it's super powerful. So for example, if I want to narrow down things that are, let's say, not in the IT project, now all I have to do is select the IT project and then just go to does not equal IT. And now we're excluding anything that is not an IT project. And that'll save us a ton of time and is actually a lot more scalable because now if we introduce new projects to Jira, we won't have to go in and change that report every time since we're just excluding those IT projects for this example. Same applies to any of these other filters. You could go to priority and exclude items, assignees, done, and everything else. Now, if you want to get really advanced with your filters and search results, you're going to have to learn some JQL. So to get to JQL, just hit the JQL tab on the right. You could always go back to basic search if you're not too comfortable or familiar with it yet, but I tend to use JQL almost on a daily basis to get super granular with the things that I'm trying to find. And by far, my favorite way to actually learn and understand JQL is to use the basic search to create a report and then switch to the JQL tab to see how your data is represented. So in this case, our report is saved. We have our don't include IT projects, status done, assignee, Alana grant, priority high, switch to JQL, and we have our entire search here in JQL. So project does not equal ITS, status equals done, assignee equals individual, priority equals high, order by created. So I'll talk about this sorting a little bit later, but this is one of the reasons you do want to learn how to use JQL. You don't have this option within your basic view. So I could dive in and start to understand project exclamation equal sign ITS. This is the key of the project, and then we're not including anything that is ITS. Status equals done, super simple. These are split up by ands. So I could start jumping in here and actually start adding in my own data if I actually understand this. And JQL will actually give you some hints, which is really nice. If you aren't very familiar with it or if you don't know how to use it yet, I'll get some suggestions here. We have and, we have or, we have order by. I'll try another and here. Click space. And let's say I'm trying to search for issue type here. I'll start typing in issue. And let's see if we could find issue type in this list. Issue key, issue is, issue, let me add one more character here, issue type, there we go. We have it suggested, okay, equals, does not equal, is not in, not in. So equals, let me see if I could find one here in this list. So this one is gonna be employee onboarding. So I could probably just search for that and see if it comes up. Perfect, employee onboarding. And great, now we have our JQL that is modified. I'll click the search bar and the search went through. Typically when it's broken, it'll give you an error. So I'll leave out one parentheses here and I'll click search again. You'll see an error here that actually tells you what character is wrong and what you need to fix. In this case, it's saying line 1, character 110. I'll add the parentheses back, click search again. Our results come back and our error goes away. Now, one really handy tool to use for JQL is actually ChatGPT. So if I ever run into a query that I'm struggling to debug, oftentimes I'll give that to ChatGPT to help me debug it. So a quick example of that would be this piece of code, and I'll exclude that parentheses, and I'll say, hey, I can't get this to work. Can you help fix my JQL? And I'll enter that in, and we'll see if ChatGPT can figure out what was wrong here. So a few issues, mismatched quote. Perfect, that's exactly what I was needing. Incorrect syntax, so oftentimes it does give you a little bit more than you actually need, but let's go ahead and just plug this information in and see if it works. So I'll copy that over. And back inside my demo project, I'll delete my old JQL, paste in the new one, and click search. Okay, so that worked. So there is more than one way to write JQL, and ChatGPT knows how to do so. So oftentimes I'll just ask it to create specific JQL for me, or just help me debug a JQL code, or even modify a very long JQL that's already existent in a filter. A couple of best practices here with filters. Naming, one that I already mentioned, you want to make sure that your name is clear and people will understand what the filter is without needing to go into it first. And number 2 is keeping them updated. So if you do update a field value or a field name, you will have to jump in and tweak that JQL or filter to make sure that it's still compatible. So keep that in mind if you're making any field changes. If you delete values or add values, you may have to go in and change your filters up. Now you know how to set up Jira filters without the headache. If this video helped you out, drop a like and subscribe. We drop videos just like this every single week. Also, feel free to drop your comments down below. If you have any questions about Jira or filters or anything else, I'll do my best to answer them.